All right, everyone. So just to conclude our morning sessions, I'm really pleased that we have several volunteers to participate in our patient and parent panel today. And since we're the only thing that stands between you and lunch, I'm going to try to give them as much of a chance to talk as possible. So I wonder if each of you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself with your name, your age or the age of your child who has cardiomyopathy, and what type of cardiomyopathy you guys live with. And if you want to be adventuresome, you could tell us just a little snippet about how living with cardiomyopathy has impacted your life or your child's life.
Should I start?
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay. Hi. Is it on?
Can you guys hear?
No, Hi. My name is Maria Vigo. My son is Zafiris. He's over there. He's 5.5. He suffers from, not suffers, he doesn't suffer actually. He has dilated and left ventricular non-compaction cardiomyopathy. And he was diagnosed when he was when I was pregnant. So when I was 28 weeks pregnant, they found out suddenly that his heart was not actually beating correctly. And they measured an ejection fraction of 3%, which was not compatible with life, as they told me. And at that time, I was in Greece, and the doctors had never seen a case like Zafiris, so they gave me zero hope. They had to deliver him via C-section, emergency C-section, and he ended up in the NICU, where he stayed in Greece for 1 year. With very low cardiac function. It was only 8%, then 10% at sometimes. And there was zero hope, basically. And I managed from Greece to, through the cardiomyopathy, conversation with parents and with all the people, Gina and everybody, that helped me back then, to find the best doctors here and have a communication with them. And at that time, it was Dr. Tobin at Cincinnati Children's. And he suggested a different kind of medication and things that they were doing as a trial, actually, at the time at Cincinnati Children's. And it was actually what helped Zafiri get a little better while he was in Greece. And he managed to get out of the hospital at that time for 1 month, but then he ended up back in because he was only 15%, his ejection fraction, and he was really sick. So at that point, they told me that he needed a transplant. And that's how we arrived in the United States, because there's no transplant in Greece. So we came to Mount Sinai, Kravis Children's in New York, where unfortunately, after 4 months, they took us off the transplant list, telling us that there is no hope for Zafiri because he was so sick that he wouldn't survive the surgery. But I never gave up. So the reason I want to speak to you all is never give up, because you never know what can happen, And I think cardiomyopathy is a disease that, in kids at least, from what I understand, you never know, how it will progress. And Zafiris got better. After another 10 months in the PICU, he started responding to the medication, and his cardiac output started rising, and he ended up having, at this point, 40%. So he stayed for a total of 2.5 years in the NICU and the PICU. Now he's here with us. He's a very active, very happy boy. We moved to Philadelphia in order for him to have rehabilitation here at CHOP, and he's also followed by Elwin at home because of his immune system having kind of collapsed from all this, what he went through. So we're very careful with germs and everything. So he's at home mainly, but he does everything. I mean, he has his special bike, he loves his toys, he plays a lot with his iPad. So he exercises with his bike every day, and I mean, if there's a message that I want to give to everybody, is never, ever, ever give up, and just be patient, and just do what you have to do, and don't give up hope, and don't look at your children as sick, because I don't see Zafiri as being sick. I just see him as a regular child, and I treat him as a regular child, and he's a regular child. So that's my message.
I can see him over there.
Yeah, we can have him come over afterwards. So this is our story in very short, all right, thank you.
How does this work? It's on? Okay. So my name's Quinn Falcone. I was diagnosed with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy when I was 2. I'm now 14, so it's been 12 years. I basically lived with it my whole life, so it's not really like a liability. It's just like my life at this point. I got an ICD, which is just an implantable defibrillator, when I was in 5th grade, and that's kind of it.
Hi, I'm Krista Rena Ger. My twin daughters, Kat and Cecilia Rena Ger, have dilated cardiomyopathy. They're 12. They were diagnosed at age 9. It was sudden. They were admitted to the hospital after Kat went into sudden cardiac arrest. They got a CRT pacemaker 5 days later, and her sister felt perfectly fine, but they both were in severe heart failure at the time, and they're doing remarkably well 3 years later. Kat?
I'm Kat, and when I went into the hospital, I never really did anything because I think I was just scared and worried that I wasn't going to make it out alive because I never knew what I had. And when I got my pacemaker, I started crying because just going into surgery just took me into some freight, and I couldn't get past it, but the doctors and my parents really helped me through that, and now it's just like an average thing and I can live through it now.
Kat, I wonder if you can tell us now, out on the other side of that scary time, how does life feel different now compared to before you had that awful event? Like, do you feel like a different person, and does it help at all to have a sibling who has the same diagnosis?
It definitely helps because she's one of the people that I can talk to any time just about it. If she wasn't with me through this, I know what I would do. I used to love to play soccer, but after I got diagnosed, I couldn't play that. And that really put me into a state where I just thought life was completely unfair until my dad taught me that people have lives way more worse than this. And after that, I was just happy that at least I never had to spend something like Christmas in the hospital, and it was only 10 days. So now I really just think, well, I have a pretty lucky life over a lot of people. So I shouldn't complain that much, and I should just live my life the way average people do and just try and make it through as well as I possibly can.
I wonder, Krista, your daughters, if you don't mind me saying, that they live with cardiomyopathy, and they also live with another condition. And I'm wondering if you have any thoughts just about how the patient communities are not helpful, and what sort of things you've seen that work in the cardiomyopathy community that could be taken to the other, or vice versa.
Oh, that's a big question. So the girls also have celiac disease, and ironically, I think we're doing like fantastically right now with cardiomyopathy. I mean, we have all the medications, we have the pacemakers, we come down here to CHOP regularly, but right now we're doing really well. So we're just doing well until we can't. Celiac, I often complain more about the celiac because it's every day. You just have to watch what you eat every day, and it's social. You don't realize how much everyone eats together all the time until you have to eat differently. They're both great communities. I love one of the great things with the cardiomyopathy community are the camps that we've been able to participate in. we do one out of Hershey that is really focused for older children, 12 to 18, and it's focused on the transition to care. They really try to teach the kids about their disease. They dissect a pig's heart to show them. You know, they're really trying to get the kids to get ownership of their disease. Another one is more just focused on having fun and forgetting about your disease for a while and just having fun. But those are great groups, and the CCF Facebook page is great to reach out for that. And I think the Facebook pages are really helpful, just to be able to reach out and say, I'm having this issue. This problem, how do you deal with that? I definitely do that for the celiac group as well. Just have you come across this problem? Celiac, there's more of us with celiac, parents of celiac, so that's the hardest thing I think with cardiomyopathy is you feel like there's so few of us. So I think it's great that like CCF is connecting as many people as they can because it feels like we're so few, and that's a good thing.
Kat, do you mind telling us a little bit about the camps that you and your sister have gone to?
Well, they're lots of fun. The first one is called Lionheart. As my mom said, they're run by Hershey. We learn how to do CPR there. You really interact with the people and talk about your heart conditions and talk about each other. Though often we don't do that. At both of the camps, you sort of just try and forget about it. And it's more like you're normal for once instead of at school where you feel different. They give you space and time. They don't make you do activities. The one called Hope with Heart, which is near New York, we mostly do partying every single night, where the other, where they could do a hike or would go on a bike ride up a mountain and just try and reach our limits and push ourselves to be the best we can be with our heart condition. So they really do help with it.
Quinn, I know that you also have other family members who live with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. I'm curious, does having other affected family members help? Does it help you to know what to anticipate, or is it just another thing for you?
So all of us got diagnosed in like the same time period, so it was kind of fine because we all like had to go through it. So it was easier like talking to them because they had to live through it too. It's not just me. My dad has it too. Like half of his siblings have it. His mom had it. One of his brothers died from it. So like it's a lot easier like talking to people that actually know what it's about than like just talking to random people.
Do most of the people at your school know that you live with cardiomyopathy? Can they tell?
Yeah, because sometimes I have to like sit out of gym for certain things, like certain tests. And in 5th grade when I had it, I got it during the school year, my defibrillator, so I walked in with like a sling and everyone like asked, and I was open about it. I didn't really care what they thought. So kind of, yeah, everyone knows.
I have a question for you, Maria, about just if you have any tips for the parents in the room about how to be an advocate for your child. I mean, you had to learn a whole new health system. You had to do it probably not in your native language, and I'm just wondering if you came out on the other end of that with any tips for how to know who to talk to and who to ask questions of, and really just how to be your child's best advocate.
So I think CCF is a wonderful place to start for information. Parents are the best source for information when you're in another country because the internet is the easiest way to access, information. But if you just Google cardiomyopathy, it will be millions of doctors and hospitals. You wouldn't know what to choose. So for me, the only way that I found who is specializing and which hospital to choose and what doctor to contact, it was through the CCF, and the parent, the blogs, where you talk with the parents and they respond back to you. They also gave me courage. It was the first time that I heard from anyone that my son could live and he was not going to die, because all the doctors reassured me that he was not going to make it. In Greece, they were waiting every night for him to not be there the next morning. So nobody believed that he was going to survive. They thought I was crazy. So when it was the first time that I felt I was not crazy, when I spoke with all those parents, and I read all those stories of all those kids that had it since birth, and now they were 14 or 12 or 15, and that gave me courage, you know, and I continued fighting because of those parents, and because I really believed that it can be done.
We do have time. Can we take a few questions from the audience? Does anyone have questions for any of our panelists? You're hungry.
Oh, there's one question. Okay.
Not much a question, but right now I'm recording. My son couldn't be here. He's at home. He doesn't really know that I'm here. He's 11, about to be 11. For Quinn, since you're a boy, what will be the best advice that you can give him? He got discouraged because he loves soccer and he can't play. And like the cat said, you know, I tried to encourage him that he can do other stuff and it could be way worse. And what can you tell him as a boy, other things that you do for fun, and that is not the end of the world because he can't play soccer, even though I know he will be very good at it. What will be your advice to him?
Well, even though you can't play competitively, you can go outside, play with your friends. And I've also learned to find other hobbies that could be active, but not strenuous on yourself. This year I went on a national park trip across, and it was just casual hikes to spots. And also I found fishing, and I actually like golf now, which is a sport that I can play, but it's not really strenuous on anything. So there's other ways to get activity in. He can play soccer with his friends. It doesn't really affect how he has fun with it, I guess.
It's a really good question. I'm sure it's on a lot of people's minds.
Do you have anything you want to say about that?
Other questions?
Okay, if there's no more questions, I'd like to thank our panelists and Dr. Lynn so much. Thank you all so much for coming to the pediatric track. So this concludes this chunk of the day, and now it's lunchtime. So you can head back up to the symphony room where we were earlier today. We have a special lunchtime speaker, so go ahead and grab some food, and you can find a seat back in the symphony room. We'll see you shortly.